Do you know what stop motion is? If not, stop motion is the use of images put together in a certain amount of frames to create the illusion of a moving image. For example, an object is moved slightly, and when you place all the frames together, it looks as if the object has moved. This is still commonly used today, such as in Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep. Distance of vision means that you use the same amount of frames throughout for each second. FPS stands for frames per second, by the way. The more frames that are compressed into 1 second makes the motion look smoother. The producers of Wallace and Gromit used to use 12 frames per second, but this made it a bit jumpy and less effective. So now they use 24 and are considering 48. PAL is European, which is 25 frames per second. NTSC, which is for the United States of America, is 29 frames per second. Film usually use 24 frames per second, and stop motion was 12, but now is 24 frames per second. In 1841, the phenakistoscope was invented by Belgian physicist Joseph Plateau. It is an early animation device that uses a spinning disc of sequential images and the theory of persistence of vision to create an illusion of motion. The zoetrope is used to produce the illusion of motion, displaying a sequence of drawings and photographs. The zoetrope is a cylinder with slits cut vertically into the sides. As the cylinder spins, you look through the slits at the pictures. Looking through this creates the illusion of motion. The praxinoscope was an animation device too. This was invented in France in 1877 by Charles-Émile Reynaud. Like the zoetrope, it uses strips of pictures placed around the inner surface of the spinning cylinder. The praxinoscope improved on the zoetrope by replacing its narrow viewing slits with an inner mirror. Depending if the cylinder is spun fast enough or slower, it determines the speed of the animation. Someone looking in the mirrors would therefore see a rapid succession of images, producing the illusion of motion with a brighter and less distorted picture than the zoetrope offered. The kinetoscope is a motion picture exhibition device. It was designed for films to be viewed by one individual at a time. It would be viewed through the top of the device. The kinetoscope was the basic approach that would become the standard for all cinematic projections before video. This is not a movie projector. It created the illusion of movement by conveying a strip of perforated film showing images over light. Georges Méliès was a magician who first saw moving pictures in 1895. After just over a year, Méliès was filming and projecting his own creations. By accident, he discovered that he could use stop-motion photography to render trick visual effects. In 1902, George created A Trip to the Moon. This used a unique style. Willis O'Brien was an American motion picture, special effects and stop-motion animation developer. O'Brien was best known for King Kong. King Kong is a fantasy monster and adventure film first premiered on the 2nd of March 1933. This film was based around a film production team going to the exotic Skull Island, where they wanted to film the final scenes but unfortunately had the encounter with an island-dwelling ape that dies trying to possess the lead actress. This was the start of Willis O'Brien's career, later with a films such as Mighty Joe Young in 1949 and The Lost World in 1960. Ray Harryhausen was an American visual effects creator, writer and producer. He created a form of stop-motion model animation known as Dynamation. One of Ray's famous films was Jason and the Argonauts in 1963. This featured a famous sword-fighting scene between 7 skeleton warriors. Ray Harryhausen would paint the background to his set so that the stop-motion image could be placed in between the background and the foreground. This would add more depth to the shot. Jan Svankmajer was born on 4th of September 1934. He is a Czech filmmaker and artist. He is known for his animations, which influenced other artists such as Terry Gilliam and the Brothers Key. Jan had been making short films since the mid-60s and got the confidence to make a feature-length film after finishing Jabberwocky and Down to the Cellar. Alice is a 1988 fantasy film written and directed by Jan Svankmajer. The film was created with the live-action and stop-motion animation. He created this as an adaptation of Lewis Carroll's first Alice book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. After more than 20 years as a director of short films, Alice became Svankmajer's first journey into feature-length filmmaking. Jan had been disappointed by other adaptations of the book, and so he aimed to make the story seem like a crazy dream. The film won the Feature Film Award at the 1989 Annecy International Animated Film Festival. Onion skinning has made it easier to edit stop motion. This is where you can see the layer before the shot you are now taking, so that you can make sure that the model or person is in line or just a tad moved from where they were before, so that you can make sure your stop motion animation is fluent. Unfortunately, there is a threat to stop motion because CGI and 3D animation is being used more and more. It can take days just to record one scene too. However, stop motion is still used because it is more textured than CGI and has an unusual, interesting feel to it. However, CGI is becoming more and more textured, which is a threat. Motion blur. Motion blur usually occurs in films. Nowadays, this can be used in stop motion. This is where the object is moved slightly when the frame is taken, so that the image looks blurry. Like when you take a picture but someone moves in the background.